So today on our Vlogmas Why, we are going to talk about why the UK has Father Christmas and the US has Santa Claus, and basically how one has become worldwide while the other one's sort of faded into the background. So Father Christmas is kind of like the OG winter icon. He dates back at least the 15th century as far as personification of good cheer, feasting, and merrymaking, a sort of like medieval party host with a beard. In fact, he wasn't originally about giving gifts at all. During the 17th century, the Puritan era, my ancestors, woohoo, he even became a tiny bit political. He was appeared in pamphlets protesting bans on Christmas celebrations at the time. If you want to see a little bit more about that, definitely click the link in the description box below about how and why they banned Christmas at one point in the UK. But yes, Father Christmas was basically the jolly symbol of stop canceling all my fun. He wore green, not red, and symbolized the season rather than a specific person. Cross the pond to the United States. Santa Claus. Across the Atlantic, Santa Claus grew from Dutch settlers' traditions of Sinterklaas. Saint Nicholas, basically, a 4th century bishop known for gift giving. By the 19th century, though, American writers like Washington Irving and Clement Clark Moore shaped Santa into the cheerful, gift-delivering figure that we all know today. With Moore's poem, A Visit from St. Nicholas, you probably know it a little bit more as Was the Night Before Christmas, introducing the sleigh, the reindeer, and that iconic entrance by chimney. Santa became fully standardized in the early 20th century with modern illustrations. Yes, including the Coca-Cola ones, although Coke didn't actually invent him, but solidified the red-suited grandpa that we recognize now as Santa Claus. So traditionally, Father Christmas wore green robes, now often red due to the cross-pollination with Santa Claus, more of a symbol of the festive spirit versus the specific individual. Historically older, wiser, and gentler, as we definitely saw our elders, especially at that time, and more of a Victorian gentleman rather than a North Pole CEO type. Whereas Santa Claus had a red suit, a big belly full of jelly, white fur trim, all standard. Running a global toy production and empire with elves, logistics. He's jolly, he's boisterous, he's commercial, and really, really good for marketing and essential to the American Christmas spectacle. I mean, even those who think there is a war on Christmas or don't celebrate Christmas in America know Santa, recognize him, and tend to have a smile on their face when they talk about him. In Britain, from what I've seen, Santa and Father Christmas have essentially kind of merged into one amalgam. Kids will use the names interchangeably, though Father Christmas still has that quaint, nostalgic charm, I must say. And I do enjoy hearing it by little ones with their little British accents, which is always fun. But the British traditions are a little bit different than I'm used to in the US, right? They leave mince pies and a sherry, yes, alcoholic, rather than the traditional milk and cookies that we leave in the United States. They hang stockings at the end of the bed. This I had never heard of until I moved here, but they pretty much hang stockings everywhere nowadays in every British household I've been in. They write letters to Santa, sometimes burned in the fireplace so that the smoke carries them to Santa in the North Pole. And they have a continued emphasis on cozy storybook Father Christmas imagery in cards and decorations. In the US, the Santa brand is the juggernaut. Of course, common traditions, as I mentioned, are leaving milk and cookies out for him because we live on dairy and sugar in the United States. Of course, we hang our stockings by the fireplace, a tradition that I have carried into the UK. I love it, and I have an actual real fireplace. Doesn't work, can't use it, but it's an actual real fireplace structure, and it does add a certain little ambiance that you just don't get in the United States. Hanging stockings by the fireplace. You have elaborate mall Santa photo ops that you actually now have to make appointments to do because it got so crazy and insane with all of the people trying to wait online for Santa. You write letters addressed to the North Pole, and even big department stores like Macy's have capitalized on that, having huge, almost red-like postboxes scattered throughout the store. In order for kids to bring their letters to Santa, they drop them in, expecting them to have a special delivery to the North Pole. And in America also, of course, there is a strong emphasis on Santa as a whole, being the heart of the commercial Christmas season in parades, in movies, in ornaments, everything. I mean, Thanksgiving Day Parade is the last Thursday in November. It is basically a marketing tool for Macy's store. It starts at 8 o'clock, it goes till 12, and the very last thing is Santa Claus on the roof in his sleigh on a float riding to the Macy's store in downtown Manhattan. I mean, you don't really get more commercial than that, and that's why that is the unofficial kickoff to the Christmas season in the United States. Modern day, worldwide, the lines have blurred quite a bit. The red suit of Santa is practically universal thanks to movies, advertising, and of course, global media and conglomerates, but regional variations do still survive. I do see Father Christmas all the time plastered on Christmas cards, on decorations, even in churches and things like that. It's quite symbolic, I think, here in the UK and other parts of the Commonwealth and former empire and the kingdom, however you want to say it. Nordic countries now have Julanese or Joulupuki. I'm not sure if I've said either of those right, but they are interesting. Mainland Europe keeps St. Nicholas as a separate figure with his own feast days, apparently, but many of the countries do mix these influences all into one localized historical version of Santa Claus. So who actually wins out? Well, here's the twist. Father Christmas and Santa Claus have gradually merged into one global figure. So they arrived completely differently in all different routes, and basically the same version of that person of gift giving during this season definitely has its own version no matter where you are in the world, whether it be in Asia, in South Africa, in South America, in the Nordic countries, here in the UK, or of course across the pond in the United States. Basically, it's the ancient spirit of this season from that particular region, all rolled into a version of the modern day commercialized Santa Claus that the United States was so really super powered and gift giving out to the rest of the world. Probably against most of their wishes. No, it doesn't really matter how you do it, whether you're leaving mince pies, cookies, sherry milk, or anything else that you have in your fridge. And whether you say Santa Claus, Father Christmas, or you call it something completely different in your neck of the woods, the message is basically the same. Enjoy the magic of the season, celebrate everything, and maybe leave something a little healthier for the big man. I mean, you know, we want him to be around for a few more years. And hopefully you are filled up with joy when you think of either Father Christmas, Santa Claus, or your version, wherever it is in your world.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas.